We are a rescue team, not assassins. Now, what are we gonna do?
We pick up their trailer, the chopper, run them down, grab those hostages before anybody knows we were there.
What do you mean, we?
Knock. You're bleeding, man.
We need the best.
Right, welcome everyone. This is episode 34 of the Comics Emotion podcast. I am, as always, Chris Phelps, introducing the show. And today, Dave is unfortunately away again on business. So, as always, the SOS bat signal has gone out. And our good friend, Matt from Jasper Review, is back. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, good stuff. And Matt, we've got to get it out there. This is your choice this week. We're going to review.
Yep, my choice. Doing in honor of the new Predator film, we're doing the original Predator from the 80s.
Great work. And I love a bit of Arnie, so I'm certainly going to be biased on this one. I love Arnie, so
yeah.
Very good choice. And well, Matt suggested it, and the first thing we said to each other is there a comic? And by Lord, there's loads of comics. So
loads. I was researching it today, hundreds.
Yeah, of them. Loads of them. So we're definitely covered. Even if this first one is a bit thin on the ground for comics, everything after this one was inspired different ones. Even the Alien Enemy Predator and stuff. There's all different things that come afterwards. So we'll get into that in a sec anyway. But yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on, Matt. It's top man for this. Really appreciate it. And good choice today as well. So again, this episode, we are sponsored by Sudio. www.sudio.com. Our sponsors and collaborators are kindly giving away a free headset to our listeners. The competition is now closed, which was, it was a UK-based competition actually, Matt. So we couldn't send it out to any of our US listeners, even though we know half the user base is from the US. So apologies, guys. We're hoping to do a digital giveaway of some sort or something else where we can send over to the US listeners. Yeah, and that, well, I'll announce that on the next show, actually, because we're just about to draw it, myself and Dave, at random. We're going to put it out there for transparency so people can see who the lucky winner is, and they'll get a headset of their choice delivered to the door. And then if you're not one of the lucky winners, you can order from Sudio.com. If you use our code Comics Emotion Podcast 15, you do get 15% off all orders. So there's no excuse really, and they look pretty good as well, and they sound pretty good because we've been using them as well. So Sudio.com, guys. Right, so Matt, let's get into it. So we're going for it tonight. Predator 1987. I'll do a bit of film background and a little bit of comic stuff just to keep Dave ticking over in the background there. Otherwise, he'll be sacking me from the podcast. Just before I do that, actually, big thanks to Jamie. Last week, Jamie Solis again came on and reviewed Wonder Woman with us, which was really good. I had a good laugh, me and Jamie. And anyway, yeah, so thanks to Jamie Solis last week for coming on again for Wonder Woman. Please follow her on Twitter. Put her bio in this episode again so you can follow her and follow her screenplay as well. So, film-wise, this is quite a funny one, this, Matt. I found some good things out today, actually, while researching it. 1987 Predator, the actual film idea, the whole inception, was based upon a joke around Rocky IV, right? So they did Rocky IV. The two screenwriters, which is Jim and John Thomas, had a joke saying that the only thing Rocky can fight now is an alien if they're ever going to make a fifth film. And I know it sounds really stupid, but that's what the whole idea of Predator came from. Someone fighting an alien. Because Rocky IV, we know Ivan Drago was a bit of a steroid freak in that one, and a bit of a superhuman. But yeah, so that came from there. And they straight away, because I think Rocky IV was at 84, around 85, they started sort of gathering a bit of traction. They went to Joel Silver, who'd obviously made Commando and did Arnie in there. Arnie was in it, and they had to have Arnie role straight away. There was no one else actually, which is quite unusual, but it was just this whole role was made for Arnie, the whole film and everything, for the way he was. Because obviously he was at his pulp then, so was Stallone, but they thought they needed a bigger character to sort of fight against the alien. And then they enlisted John McTiernan, who was hired as the director for the first film as well, because it was his first studio film. And the actual artistic drawings and the actual inception of the Predator outfit is all homage actually to James Cameron. So another Arnie link here. Stan Winston, who's the artist for the film, he was actually on a train with James Cameron, sat next to him, and James Cameron said he always wanted to see in a film a creature with mandibles, which is what the Predator became in the end. It wasn't actually originally supposed to look like that. It was just supposed to look like an alien, really, like a
Yeah.
sort of human based. I don't know if you've seen that yourself today.
No, I've not seen that. It's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah. So he said like Arnie was definitely in. They wanted Carl Weathers because of Rocky. Obviously, he'd been killed off in Rocky 4, so a nice way to bring him in to play Dylan. Arnie was always Dutch. And they wanted these massive characters. So like Jesse the Body Ventura's in it as well. He's playing the guy with the sort of cigar, and he was playing Long Tongue's, what's it called? Long Tall Sally, which is a Little Richard song at the start and then the helicopter. Now, I've known this other little fact I'm going to throw in there for years as a massive martial arts fan and Van Damme. Van Damme was cast as the Predator because they wanted this nimble, ninja, agile-like character. But because of the size of Arnie, Carl Weathers, Jesse Ventura, I think Arnie's about 5'10", 5'11", but the other two are like well in 6'2", 6'3". Van Damme's about 5'8". So they said it just didn't stack up. And Van Damme threw his teddies out the pram because he was never going to be seen on screen other than in the Predator outfit. So then they changed all that. And they said physically, even though he looked good, he wasn't in the same realms as the lead characters. So Van Damme left because of his character. He couldn't really see much in the suit. And then they ended up employing a guy called Kevin Peter Hall. He's like 6'6", big guy actor. So he ended up playing the Predator 2 films, which is quite interesting. Arnie lost about 25 pounds while he was filming it due to where they were. Everyone seems to have a bad case of, well, I can't really call it the deli belly because they're in Mexico, but everyone had a real bad case of it. And then what I find really interesting is Carl Weathers has said that all the actors on set, because they were all like obviously big monsters, and I'm pretty sure none of them had passed a drugs test if it came to that, looking at the way they look, Matt. But they all used to get up at like 3 a.m. and try and outdo each other, going to the gym, pretending that they weren't training. Carl Weathers was telling the crew that he was naturally like this. He didn't need to train, but then kept getting up dead early so no one saw him train, which I find really weird. Anyway, I don't understand what the problem is.
Rubbish. He definitely didn't get that physique naturally, did he?
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't wake up one day a monster, did he?
Exactly. Well, Rocky 4 he just filmed. In Rocky 4, he was the biggest he'd been, and he's definitely had to either growth hormones or steroids, and take it from a personal trainer who's never actually taken that stuff. But I'm certainly fully aware of what they do to get in that shape. You know, if anyone believes Hugh Jackman did that eating chicken and rice, then I'll give up my day job right now. Yeah. But yeah, so they all had that, and then, which is a bit strange because I did read with Jesse Ventura, actually. He did an interview on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast. I listened to a lot of the podcasts that they actually had a tent there, and Jesse Ventura and Arnie were trading partners because he's the only one who could hang with Arnie when it comes to the weight. So obviously Arnie wasn't a pro bodybuilder then. He was still obviously in bodybuilding shape. But it was like competitions every day to outdo each other. So obviously that's why they looked so good. Film-wise, the film was actually nominated for various awards. It actually was nominated for an Academy Award for the visual effects because they used 2 or 3 different techniques. It was called like the chroma key techniques, where they filmed it with, instead of a green screen, the Predator was red and he had a red suit on. And then they actually superimposed on top different parts of it. So when he's got like the suit on and stuff, and eventually you got that holographic like effect where you can still see the outline of him, but it blended into the background. So it was all to do with like the scenery as well, because they couldn't use a green screen because obviously it was a jungle, so everything else was green. So it was quite, I've never seen that before, but at the time it was so far advanced to anything we'd seen. Now it would be like something you see in a cartoon or a TV show, not a cartoon, like a TV movie or something. It's nothing, you know, you see far different ones. Now, one thing I wanted to pull up on Matt as well. Sorry, I'm waffling here. I know.
No.
Alan Silvestri, which I didn't know this till I researched it, but I'm listening to it again and I'm thinking, all this music sounds like Back to the Future. Well, he'd just come off the back end of doing Back to the Future, went straight into Predator. So I don't know if you picked up on that, but all the music and everything was so similar to Back to the Future. I know I'm a massive Back to the Future fan, and I literally didn't know this till after the film. As I'm watching, I'm thinking this has got to be some like nod towards Back to the Future. It's because it was the same composer.
That's a very contrasting film to be a part of, isn't it?
Yeah. Very strange. I mean, it's Silvestri. I think it's Silvestri. It was his first major blockbuster, even though we'd done Back to the Future. Obviously, that was more a sci-fi type comedy, I suppose, wasn't it, type film. But this, like Predator's first one, but they say like the drum beats and the horns and everything. And it was absolutely I couldn't. I must admit, at certain points that was taking away a bit of the action because I could hit Back to the Future. But anyway, money wise, it released on June the 12th, 1987. It was the #1 box office film at the time, and it was second for the year, only behind Beverly Hills Cop 2, which I must admit, Matt, is one of my favourite films as well, of Eddie Murphy. Overall, it grossed 140 million, which at the time was really good. It doesn't say what the budget was, but I can't see it being a lot, to be honest. It was, as he says, it was a financial success as well. On Rotten Tomatoes, which is interesting, as it's got older, the reviews have gone higher. At the time when it was reviewed by people like the New York Times and a lot of these big magazines and stuff and things like that, obviously there's no websites, it got panned as like a middle-of-the-road, Arnie, generic film. A lot of people didn't get it. They praised the cinematography and the actual special effects, but everything else was just like, they said, it's Arnie dialed in. But as it's got older, it's got loads more reviews. Now, at the moment, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 80%, which is really good. And it's got an average user review of 7 out of 10. Pretty good for an Arnie film, if I'm being honest. I know Terminator's probably higher. Terminator, especially the first one, and Terminator 2 as well. But yeah, really, really, really interesting. So, I think that's all I've got on the actual film this week. Regarding the comics, there's not a lot. The only thing I was going to say is a bit of a nod to the comics is after this was made, they decided to bring out some comics. They went with Predator, Concrete Jungle. Now, originally, it was going to be Dutch going into the city as a copper sort of thing, but they didn't. They went then with his brother. 4-issue limit comic book, and that was Dark Horse Comics, so you can't really get much better than that. And then obviously from there, Matt, as you've probably known, it's born onto loads of different comics. I don't know if you've got anything yourself which you've picked up on.
Well, the most interesting ones for me, they've done Predator versus Judge Dredd, which is a pretty cool concept, and they've got Batman versus Predator and Superman versus Predator. So obviously they're trying to bring him over into the comic book world. I mean, I saw this Batman versus Predator, and I'm actually kind of interested in buying it and seeing what it's all about. It sounds kind of cool, in all honesty. But yeah, obviously, as the film's grown, they've obviously gone for comics and tried to really get this as a big franchise.
Yeah, and I think it's got a cult following, hasn't it? I mean, I've watched some of the Alien v Predator films, and not the latest one, the one before it, and I didn't mind it, to be honest. I didn't mind it at all. I'm not a big Aliens fan, though, or Alien fan at all. I know that sounds probably bad, but I'm just not. I never really got them films, if I'm being honest. A bit like Blade Runner, not my type of films.
No, I'm the same. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah, strange. I mean, I like the Predator, and to be fair, the second one gets slated with Danny Glover, but I actually quite like the second one.
It's not too bad, is it? It's not all.
No, I'm sure if I watched it now, I'd probably go, "Oh my gosh, it is terrible." But I haven't watched it for probably 10 years, but I didn't mind it. I've watched it a few times.
I like the third Predator film. I think that's quite a good film, actually.
I've not seen that one.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's got Adrian Brody from the
I
Pianist.
have seen it.
Yeah.
Yes, I have seen
You're
it.
on the
He's
planet
very
this
good.
time. And
Yes.
it's not bad. It's not bad.
It isn't bad. It's about 10 years old, isn't it?
If you actually think of the Predator as a franchise, it's they've actually never really made a really bad one, unlike, say, the Alien franchise. I mean, as long as you don't count like the Alien versus Predator films, then other than that, the series is actually fairly solid. Yeah,
it is. I've seen that one, actually. You're very correct. It's a great film, that. It surprised me when I watched it, actually. It went back to the roots of like the Arnie type film, didn't it, really? That sort of fear in the hunt.
It's a homage film, isn't it, really? And it's not bad. It's a shame they never made a sequel to that, because I would kind of like to see that. But then again, I guess there's not too much that could be told from there. I mean, they're just going to die on that planet, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, good stuff, Matt. So are you ready to get into the review?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it.
So we start off, we get this helicopter, like Apache helicopter flying in, very sort of Viet Cong, run-of-the-mill army type situation. And then all the boys get off, don't they? And they're all these big sort of genetically enhanced soldiers, but there's always that one the main man's at the back, Arnie, they're Dutch, with his cigar in hand, cap on,
very 80s to begin,
Yeah,
isn't it?
very,
So 80s.
Hannibal Smith, 80s type situation. He's ready to rock and roll. Gets off, ends up going into like this hut, and we get one of the most famous memes, you know, when he says to Dylan sat there, shouts so to Arnie, we get Arnie says to Dutch, Dylan, you son of a bitch, and they get this handshake type sort of basically who's got the biggest bicep scene, which
Their muscles are glistening in oil. Oh, it made me laugh. I went, "Oh, this is just so fantastic! What a scene! What a scene to plan!"
Yeah, straight away, and it's a typical Arnie. And then Arnie shows who's the boss and sort of submits Dylan, doesn't he? Which is Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed. He'll always be Apollo Creed in my eyes.
Yeah,
but yeah, straight away you get a bit of an undertone, don't you? That Dylan's not as trustworthy as what he seems, and that's within like the first scene. To be fair,
yeah, they did well in setting that up pretty quickly. I mean, it's a cool scene. In all fairness, it is very cheesy and very 80s, but they set up Dylan fairly well throughout this film, actually.
Yeah, he's good. He's a good sort of like a bit like. To be fair, I think Carl Weathers plays pretty much Apollo Creed, doesn't he, in the first two Rockies, where he's a guy, he's got a bit of an edge to him. In the first one, he's just a down and out bad guy, isn't he? And as the films evolve, he obviously, I know we're talking 2 or 3 films there, and by the 4th film, Apollo's pretty much a good guy, and he's in the 3rd one. But this is in one film, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. I think he could play a bad guy. Shame he never really did much after the Rocky and Predator films, but I think he had something to offer as an actor. Yeah,
he's good. I mean, I think he's American footballer, Carl Weathers and stuff. And when I'm watching all the Rocky stuff, he's fantastically in shape. You know, great guy. And he'd never boxed until he did Rocky stuff. And that's where he got a lot of roles after Rocky as well. They were always B-movie stuff. There's one called Action Jackson, which is terrible. But I remember Biff out of Back to the Future was in it. Because I remember some girl at the start, he's a copper, Carl Weathers, and Biff gets kicked in between his legs and hits the deck as a copper. But that's the only thing I remember of the film. It was pretty terrible. But they were the standard of films. He was always a supporting actor, wasn't he, I think, in this. I think he plays with Arnie well, and Arnie's better when he's not got a lot of dialogue, and it's pretty certain that everyone else has got more dialogue than Arnie, but Arnie is the main man, which is so effective because it worked in Terminator. He's so effective, and both Terminator, well, I know Terminator 2 out the time, but everything he did, Arnie's poor when he's got a lot of dialogue, and just the visual stuff and the one-liners, they just work in these films.
Definitely, yeah. He's not the best speaker, is he? It's just more about the look with Arnie, and he's got the look.
Yeah. Oh, he's the man. He's the man. He always will be. And then so from there, we get the team together. The lads, which is Mac, Billy, Blame, Poncho, and Hawkins. I'm only reading this as we said, but the thing is, with these guys, they're all people that have been in 80s films. Like Billy, who's the Native American guy. He's actually out of 48 Hours. He's one of the bad guys in the first 48 Hours. And he's
like real life crazy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like real life properly crazy.
Yeah, he is. He's an absolute nut of the guy. I think Sonny Summit, I think he's just recently died, to be fair.
I think I looked today, actually. He died a year ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently he's like real life mad. So he was like a guy you really didn't want to bump into on the street.
No, not at all. And then you've got Mac, who is the guy who Arnie kills in Commando on the plane. He's in Commando. You know, the one when he snaps his neck on the plane and walks off and just leaves a trilby hat on him as he gets off the plane.
Yeah.
He's in a few Arnie films as a bad guy. He always was in the 80s. Jesse the Body Ventura, who's Blaine, he was in The Running Man. He's Captain Inferno, whatever he's called in The Running Man. And obviously he was a wrestler. He was a commentator. I was a massive wrestling fan. Still, I'm mainly a fan of the retro stuff now, but he was like the main guy with Vince McMahon, so know him. One of the guys, which is quite good, is Shane Black. I think it's Hawkins. Shane Black's the guy who directed Lethal Weapon and stuff.
Oh, he directed the new Predator, isn't he?
Yeah. New stuff as well. So he's one of the characters in it as well, which is quite clever. But yeah, so they're like his team. They go into the desert. This is sort of a half-thing story, isn't it, that these some guys have gone missing.
They don't spend a lot of time on that sort of aspect.
No.
They kind of want to get that out of the way as quick as they can.
Yeah, and they're straight into it, aren't they? Into the jungle. There's a couple of... I mean, it's all filmed in Mexico. It genuinely is, but it does feel quite close set, doesn't it?
I thought that through the film. I thought, is this actually on a set, or have they gone on site? And yeah, but reading it now, I'm actually really surprised they went on site. I can't believe that.
Very clever, because it feels like at some points it feels like a bit like a TV movie, doesn't it? You know, like the way it's very. I'd never noticed it before, but the more I watched it, I was thinking, it's very clever. Budget wise, it's all just on their main characters. There's not a lot of people in that film at all. There's only maybe 20 people, if that. So it's quite a clever concept.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was definitely a financial success, obviously. But yeah, so we get this thing where they go through, they find a wreckage of a helicopter with like 3 skinned corpses, and they're all speculating, like, what's going on, what's happened here. Dutch then sort of realizes that Dylan is set him up, doesn't he, really? And he just sort of has a pop at him, like, what are you doing? This is nothing to do with this. And they get into an altercation. The guys don't trust him at all, did he? Dylan's like proper sneaking stuff. And I must admit, though, man, they go to this camp, don't they? And like you can see the Predator's introduced, but we don't see his actual face, do we? We see him sort of heat censoring over everyone. Not sure what he's doing. So he ends up following Arnie and like the squad in, and then Arnie and the squad end up on this campsite, don't they? This sort of army barracks where they're torturing people, and some guy gets brutally knifed, doesn't he, straight away? Like,
straight away. You know what you're in for at that point, don't you?
Yeah, straight takes him out, and then Arnie, like, does some really cliche dialogue at this point, I must admit. But Arnie, like,
it's fantastic, the dialogue at this point. This is my favorite part of the film. This is the best part.
It's absolutely awful, isn't it? It's like a who's who of army films. Like, what can you say? Like, and it's just some real poor dialogue. But it's not. It sounds daft, but some of the stuff me and Dave have reviewed, you're putting your hands over your eyes and, like looking through your fingers, like, oh my God, is this going to end? But because it's Arnie, and he built a career on this same character in every single film, and it's just all muscles and cigars and machine guns. I don't know about you, but I'm just lapping all this up.
I am. He sells it really well. Arnie sells it really well, like the stick around line and knock line. It's just brilliant. I'm like, why? Well, no one would ever say this. In this situation, no one would do this.
I'm so glad you picked up on that. Yeah, because he goes into a hut. What happens is they surround this thingy, like Blaine, Jesse the Body Ventura. He nearly gets like caught on a tripwire, doesn't he? So they sort of booby trap the tripwire. And then Arnie, just for no reason, he's obviously, we know he's a muscle man and that. He decides then to lift up a truck, which is on like a cam belt thing. It's got no wheels, but it's like running a generator or something, isn't it? It's all like a cam.
Yeah.
And he just lifts this truck up and puts like a detonator thing on the back and lets it just flies into conveniently where there's about 30 soldiers playing cards and having something to eat, and everything just goes up then, doesn't it? It absolutely just ends it. And like you say, Arnie ends up on there in a hut, and there's a guy there with a machine gun, but he just goes knock, knock, kicks the door down and blows him up. But the guy waits for him, which I thought was quite nice of him.
Yeah, that was very nice of him to let him have the first hit. The stick around line, I think, is the best line in this film. He throws a knife and impales him on a pillar and says, "Stick around." I thought no one would do this in this situation. That is a very brutal way for someone to go and to just laugh it off and turn around. No, this is not happening.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And then
fantastic.
They have a massive battle. Everything, they kill all like the camp and everything like that. And then there's a Soviet intelligence officer, which has been killed, but Dutch and Dylan are together, and Dylan comes in and he's looking for intelligence, and then Dutch realizes that everything was just a setup. It was just a case of retrieving this information. Yes, Dylan's team had been killed and skinned and everything by the Predator, hadn't they? But it was all just a big ruse, really, for him to get this information. And like Dutch is not happy, but then they end up with this girl, don't they? The girl pulls a gun on Arnie, on Dutch, and he gives her a backhander, which you don't usually see that in.
Not in an 80s film. Yeah, I was surprised about that. It was nice for her to make a nice big noise as well when she was sneaking up on the back of him, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's just took out about 40 people, and this girl's just conveniently walked up behind him with a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, why you would do that, I do not know.
But I was surprised, that he gives her a swift backhand, and I thought, wow, that must have been very big in the 80s to do something like that. That must have turned a lot of heads, because you don't really even see that now. It's still a bit of a taboo thing to do, a man hitting a woman in a film. But no, Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
It took the risk. Fair play.
Exactly. And then what you've got a couple of things like Billy, who's like this sort of Native American. He feels that there's someone around there. So does Mac as well, don't they? They keep like sort of suggesting there's something not right with what's going on, because obviously these are supposed to be like high level Marines, aren't they, or like special forces? So they're used to people tracking them, or they track them, and they can't seem to find, because they've come across these random dead bodies, which there's no trace of tracks or anything, is there? They just can't work out how this person, they think it's these personal people, are getting away with doing what they're doing without any sort of anything. They can't pick a clue up or anything. So they sort of guess something's going on. And then this Anna, that she ends up becoming part of it, they sort of zip tie her, don't they, at the time? And obviously we still get this thermal imaging thing tracking him. But then Anna escapes, and Hawkins, one of the guys, he chases her and gets hold of her. And this is the first time we come across, we don't see it properly, but the Predator comes in and takes Hawkins away, doesn't he? And she gets saved for some reason. But yeah,
I guess that's kind of shown later in the film. That's explained why she is saved, because I was confused. I was like, why is he not gone? But then in fairness, the reason they give makes complete sense, and I was happy with the reason they gave for that little plot error.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, to be fair, it was okay. I was the same as you at this point, because I've not watched it for so long. I was thinking, I can't remember this now. You know, I remember him coming in, because obviously you know that he's going to come in. But I'd say what's brilliant in this next scene. So obviously this guy goes, and then that Mac, he decides to go full Metal Jacket psycho, doesn't he? And what I don't understand, and it's one of the worst bits of the film, I must admit, is they've just infiltrated a camp, right, Matt? So bear with me on this. They infiltrate a camp. It's been about 30 guys. There's 6 of them. They've killed all of them. The last thing you want to be doing is firing a gun to draw attention to yourself.
Think about that. That is an incredible point, because Shane Black makes the point with, what's his character's name again? Sorry. Hawkins, isn't it? He says to him, "Oh, they'll have backup coming in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
maybe less." And he's like, "All right, let's get out of here pretty quickly." That's never touched upon again.
No.
Why is that never? That surely that should have been touched upon.
Yeah, like so. Exactly. But as well, you're totally right.
Yeah, I've just not really, you've blown my mind with this film now. Maybe it's not as good as I remember.
Sorry, everyone, if you've seen it. I'm not trying to ruin the film, but what is even better though, Matt, is the Predator's there, and they just start randomly firing, don't they, at stuff, because the Predator's been a bit wounded, but they don't know what it is. And all of them must unload Arnie, everything. They just stand in a row, and all it's for is for Arnie to flex his biceps, and all the other guys to show that they've been trained. They must fire about 1,000 rounds of bullets.
80s testosterone at its best, isn't it? It's just all about testosterone.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. They don't even know. Now, bear in mind, these are like top-level Navy SEAL commandos, whatever they're supposed to be. And they've just infiltrated this camp. They've had it all done properly. You know, tracking back Arnie, saying all the buzzwords. For that split second, they just start firing at trees and that. They don't even know what they're firing at, and it doesn't make any sense at all. And I was laughing to myself going, even this is a bit thin for me, because why would you fire all them bullets to draw complete attention to where you are?
I know, it's mad. Think about it, he does say, leave no trace, but you like to think they would find them. Like, it could have been actually quite a good story aspect that this camp is hot on their tail as well, whilst also fighting the Predator, whatever. But obviously all those firing bullets, it is just 80s testosterone, isn't it? All it is. It is quite a funny scene, I think.
It's fantastic. And then we get to it comes to the night time then, and Billy, again, the Native American guy, he's so skeptical, and he does it's a great 80s speech. He says something about Billy. The guy says to him, Donny Shane Black says to him, he goes, "You're not scared of anything." He goes, "You're not scared of any man." And he went, that's not a man. We're going to die tonight. And just walks off, or something like that. And it's like, he doesn't say much, but it's quite a good 80s line, as if to say, we're dead, that. And it's right the way they did it. I thought it was really clever, because as it goes dark, the Predator obviously is easy for him to see everyone because as human beings, I know it doesn't explain it in the film, but I get that more because he's still watching them. But so they set a load of traps, don't they, around the camp to try and sort of survive. I think Dutch at this point realizes that they're actually sort of being hunted. He's not sure what it is, but he knows that there's something out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's the trap scene was quite cool. I mean, it's kind of like Boy Scouts, though, isn't it? While they were going along and setting them all. But at this point, I was still invested in the film. I realised something. I was going to touch on it a bit later, but you still haven't even seen the Predator yet.
No,
he's already killed someone, and they've already cut to about 3 or so scenes by this point that you know it's out there. But they've still not actually shown the Predator, and I noted it down when he actually comes on. But I was like, that is quite a cool aspect that I didn't realize he's barely in it. The Predator, he's barely in it.
Yeah, and I think as well, I mentioned this last week. We did Wonder Woman with Jamie. Was you don't get to see Wonder Woman in a suit. You see her at the start, and then you don't see her again in that outfit, or the proper Wonder Woman outfit. Sorry, until about 50 minutes in. And that's what's quite good about this. Now, considering it's an 80s film, and I know I've poked a bit of fun at some of these little bits and that, but purely from a humour point of view, as a massive Arnie fan, it's not taking me away from the film. But yeah, I agree. And I do think as well, to be fair, that there's got to be some respect for the special effects of the Predator.
Yeah, definitely. They did an awesome job.
Yeah, they do. The only thing that lets it down is because the Predator's been hit, to get this hand scene where he's trying to like save it's because it's like had its leg sort of bleeding, this green blood. It gets like a kit out, like a first aid kit, doesn't it, and injects itself and all this, and that just looks like someone dressed in a suit because the hologram effect comes off its body as it's as it doesn't need to do the chameleon type thing. And I must admit that was a bit off because when he was holding the syringe thing, you could see the sort of bending his fingers like it was a prosthetic. What's it called? Prosthetic. Yeah, prosthetic. Oh, fake. Like a rubberized hand. It's not too much, but you could just tell. But all the other stuff holds up really well, even to this day, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, some of it's poor, but overall, you think, they did a half decent job. The cloaking stuff doesn't work amazingly well, but you let a film off like this, it's. Was it now 30 years old? That's pretty mad. Yeah. This film is 30 years old.
31, you're right. 87, yeah. So
31, yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right, because we've said this myself, like when we've talked about other reviews, and when we did like we haven't done it yet. We're going to do The Matrix at some point, and I watched The Matrix again the other week, and that's 20 years old, and that is so much better than some of the other stuff we reviewed around that time, like Blade. There's only one iffy bit in Blade where the guy's face is all weird, and that. Other than that, everything else is even now holds up really well, to watch as a film. But it's all about the budget. And obviously at the time, this film might have had a lot of budget, but what they did for the Predator was so effective, I think. It's probably, and obviously we had the Back to the Future stuff at the same time as well. So there was money going into the CGI, well, not so CGI, but the special effects and that. It was all going up in the 80s, wasn't it? Different level.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, who directed Back to the Future?
Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah, he was such a big proponent of special effects. That's what we need, and I think that kind of made studios sort of look up and go for the special effects and really actually invest in these special effects. And they do well. They're okay. They're not amazing, but they're okay by what they had at the time.
Yeah, the only thing in Back to the Future, and I know I'm going off piece there, is that always bugs me, even as a massive fan. I've got the collector's edition Blu-rays behind me. I had them on video, everything as a kid. Absolutely, I watch them millions of times. Is when the car goes up to 88 miles an hour with Einstein in, and Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox, Marty and Doc.
I know what you're going to say here.
Yeah, the fire through the legs, and that looks terrible. Even with the remastered 4K version I've got here, and they remastered it as well to try and make it a bit more authentic. They realised it wasn't the best, but it was what they could only use at the time. It was pretty poor, and that's a totally different film. But it's always something that's CGI or special effects wise that always stuck with me on that film. Always.
That scene always sticks for me. definitely.
You can certainly see it's in a green room when they're doing that standing on the tiptoes thing with the fire between the legs. But, it is what it is. It's still one of my favourite films. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah.
The traps are there. The guys are all sleeping or trying to sort of rest, aren't they? After the adrenaline dump of what's happened. And then this pig appears, doesn't it? And Mac goes absolutely ballistic and just absolutely, he thinks he's caught the predator, doesn't he? And you can't see what he's killed. He's absolutely going for it, and he just basically maims it. And then the guys look over and start laughing. Like, could you? One of them says, doesn't he? I think Shane Black says, "Could you not got a bigger hog or pig or whatever it is? It's just a massive hog in it with massive teeth. I know they're vicious, but it's huge. But you can see now that the fear that Mac has seen him firsthand, the predator, he's shaking every time he's got a gun in his hand. He knows what's coming.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good that they've shown. Obviously, it's of the 80s where the action films were so big at the time, and it was all about blokes who were larger than life, but actually showing them with a little bit of fear. I don't think many action films of the time had ever done that, and they're showing what I think is probably very big in the 80s, that you're seeing all these, the Arnie's and your Sylvester Stallones, they're not scared of anything.
Yeah.
But to build up this character in Predator, not show him on the screen, but you see these characters who you're looking at going, oh yeah, they're not afraid of anything, to actually be reduced to, they're scared like little boys now. So it's great in how it builds the Predator in that way, by showing these characters how scared they are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's good character development as well. I think everyone's got the phase, haven't they, of anything in life, and even these guys have got something, and when they come across something they can't cope with, they just revert back to that sort of childlike state, in it, of like,
exactly.
What the hell are we going to do? Your natural fear kicks in. So I think that's it's quite a clever piece of writing and directing that you can relate to, and I think that's probably why you relate to the characters in this, because nobody can imagine what that's going to be like, can you? So
exactly.
I know it sounds a bit thingy, but you're right. So from there we get that's it. Yeah. So as they're looking at the pig and the hog, and they're taking the mick out of Mac, Blaine's body gets taken, Jesse the body, because just before this, Blaine had been shot, and he basically.
Blaine's dead at this point.
Blaine's dead.
Yeah.
Sorry,
we all know that. Yeah,
I've jumped ahead there. Sorry, guys. And what he'd done is, when Blaine got shot, what they said is, which I thought was quite clever, was they looked at the wound. It opened up his whole inside of his cavity of his chest, but they said it's cauterized it and everything. That's what is this? They weren't sure what the weapon was that hit him, because Dylan at this point, he's still adamant that it's people, and he don't believe it's somewhere else. And so Blaine's body then disappears. So as he's obviously been watching him, it leaves Fingy injured, only Poncho gets injured, and then Mac and Dylan, Mac goes off, and then Dylan's like to Arnie, and you're like, just go, go to the, get to the helicopter.
Well, this is actually the first point we see the Predator. We see him for maybe a second and a half, 2 seconds, and this is an hour 20 into the film.
Yeah,
hour 19. So what is it? It's a 107-minute film. So 69 minutes in, and now we've got our first look at the Predator. 2 seconds of it.
Yeah, which is good as well.
Yeah, I likened it. I said it's like Jaws. It's like action Jaws, because Jaws is never in the film, and I think they're seeking that kind of, would you call it, like that when you're in.
It's like anticipation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like that anticipation. Sorry, I'm completely fumbling over my words.
Don't be dumb.
Yeah, but yeah, they're going off that film and saying it worked for them by building up this creature we haven't seen, but showing actual reactions to the people. So as an audience, we can't actually tell what this is, but we know we need to be afraid because our heroes on the screen are afraid as well. So I think that's why Predator is so built up nowadays, is because we actually got so little of him in this film. People have questions, don't they? They go, who is Predator? What is he? How did he come about? And that's kind of how you build a franchise. You got to leave questions. And I think that's obviously why Jaws is so big. Alien as well. Alien's not really in the film to the end. So it's building those questions.
Yeah, and that's a great point as well, Matt, to be fair. Really good point, and good directing again, and writing.
Definitely.
But yeah, so then we've got Mac and Dylan. We get a weird interaction where Dylan goes off and then he can hear this voice. But what we found is the Predator can replicate the voice of people, can't he, as well? It's a bit of a weird thing because obviously he's got this technology on him. So he's sort of like Billy's voice. He could use his before, didn't he, and things like that. Now, obviously, at this point, Billy gets killed straight away. He goes off and sort of cuts his chest with a knife, takes all his gear off. He's there all bare-chested, ready to go. He must last literally 1 second after.
God, he's insane, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just insane, that guy.
Yeah, he's just got Anna, because Arnie's got Anna, and he's got, what's the one called? Poncho, and he's trying to get away, and then he doubles back on him, Billy, and thinks he's going to give him a go, doesn't he? We get like the Predator zooming in on his like body with the infrared stuff, and yeah, he's gone. Within a second of him doing this like tough guy act, he gets up, you just hear the screams, don't you? So he's
Do you not want to talk about, I thought it was, it made me laugh, Dylan's death. That made me laugh. Yeah. That is hilarious. I mean, I know I'm backtracking a little bit, but so Arnie throws him a second gun, so now he's got dual guns.
Yeah.
And he goes to pull out his gun to the Predator, and he shoots his little plasma blast, and it blows off his arm. And then for some reason, I don't know why the camera did this, but it pans on the arm, and the gun is still shooting. Yeah, and I just couldn't stop laughing. I went, "That's so funny. Why is the gun still shooting? He didn't ever pull the trigger."
No.
And somehow he's not gone into complete shock. He's managed to then, with his other arm, pull out the gun and try and shoot at the Predator. And I just thought, that is brilliant. They've still made out he's this larger-than-life character that he's able to lose a limb, but still be able to function correctly and know he needs to shoot the other gun. But I just thought, that is fantastic. That's great writing right there.
I must admit, you're right. What it reminded me of, Matt, was RoboCop. Because RoboCop kills in one of the scenes. I remember RoboCop shoots some guy about 4 times, and he's still alive. You know, and he's still going for him. You know, I know obviously RoboCop beats him, but yeah, it reminded me of that. And yeah, you're right. It's a terrible bit of action in it because Dylan sees the Predator running, doesn't he, round him once his arm's gone, and he sees that hologram. And he tries to shoot him, doesn't he? And he just lifts him up and just hacks him to death, and he's gone completely. But he had redeemed himself.
Yeah, that's what they got to do. These characters have got to redeem him, haven't they? So I had to bring him full circle. Yeah,
because he was trying to save Arnie, wasn't he? Like, I've got you into this, I'll get you out of it. But then what happens then is Arnie, the Predator catches up then. He's already killed Billy. And he gets Poncho, and then with all this happening, he gets Dutch done. He actually fires at Dutch's shoulder.
Yeah, this is a problem I have with the film.
Yeah.
We've seen the plasma blast used twice before this. Once it blew a hole in a man. Another time it blew his arm off. With Arnie, it knocked him over, and then he never suffered. He never has any repercussions from the injury that he gave him. No. Why did that plasma blast not do anything? I had so many questions. Are they trying to say he's so big and muscular, couldn't penetrate him? I didn't understand. I thought either have him not shoot the plasma blast or Arnie gets out of the way of it. Don't let it hit him. I thought that was ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I must admit, the only thing I can think of is he's actually channeling his inner T-800 Terminator. Yeah. And that's the only reason, because I'd never even thought of that until you've just said it. But you're totally right. The other members of the team had an untimely death with that laser, didn't they? And this is just...
Well, yeah, because the film has set up that you don't want to get hit by the laser. Yeah, it's shown us twice. You know, that's what they do in films. They reinforce that point. Don't get hit by the laser. Okay, I get that. Immediately he gets hit by the laser, it's fine. And I'm going, well, you can't just change the rules. Have it that Arnie sees him getting the laser ready and he gets out of the way because he's seen the laser work. He knows he needs to get out of the way, not have it hit him. And that's it. He got hit and it was a little bit of blood, and then that was it. Never again is it referred to.
But you're right. But we've got to say this, and I'm going to do 2 bad impressions of Arnie now because Dave's not into his impressions. We get 2 of the biggest lines that Arnie says in
maybe his biggest line, isn't it?
Biggest line, get to the chopper. And then we get the other line, go now. That's like another one of his lines that shoots in all. I know we got Hasta La Vista and I'll be back. I'll be back's probably his biggest one. Then it's Get to the Chopper. But it's so funny watching it, Matt, because they're so cliched lines. To see him doing them serious in a film, I just couldn't take him serious. He's lay on the floor on his back and he's telling that Anna to go because he realizes that, and I'm quoting him there, it's no sport because she's not got a weapon. But he realizes the predator's hunting them as a trophy because they're the predator sees them as a match. So when he's taking the bodies away, it all comes to pass. And he realizes now Dutch that he's doing it and using them as like a trophy cabinet of people, like that the predator's better hunter than them.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking the woman in it. Obviously, there's no sport in that. What was the point of her character? I don't quite understand what she offered. There was no love interest in there, was there?
No, the only thing to do, maybe what I've just said, is it served the purpose for them to reveal that because she didn't have a gun,
maybe
the predator wasn't going to. That's what. When I read today, and I think that's what a lot of people have questioned, and they were saying that she's just there to serve the plot to show that because she was unarmed and not a threat, the predator left her alone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which that's probably the only. I totally agree with you. It's the only reason she's in the film because most of the films Arnie's done, like Commando, Running Man, he's always had a pretty girl with him who's like the bumbling, cliched woman. Who becomes a badass by the end of the film. This was neither anything. You don't even see her again after this, which is real strange.
Yeah. Well, serving the plot purpose.
Yeah. It's bizarre, but I agree with you. She was a bit of a non-character, really. There was no real reason, unless they were rescuing her. That would have made more sense for him to rescue her.
That's what I thought. And then I realised, no, they're not. I thought that throughout the whole film. And I clocked, I went, no, they're actually not, are they? I basically just kidnapped her. Yeah,
it's just really bizarre. And then obviously she's gone now to the helicopter. He's left her unarmed, so he knows she's going to be fine. And then the predator goes after Dutch, doesn't he? But what happens now is exactly what you've just said before. We get to see the predator properly because the cloaking device malfunctions, doesn't it? Because of this little interaction with Dutch. Dutch has like created all this. Dutch is escaping at this point. It's now that he gets covered in mud, doesn't he? Because he escapes in the river and thinks he's got away, doesn't he? And as he comes onto the riverbank, he sees the water moving and he's like, oh my God. Like he does actually swear, but I won't swear, but he does swear. And then he ends up on this pin with all this mud on him, but he cannot see him at all. The predator cannot even see anything.
Yeah, hiding that cloak.
I don't know whether I buy that, because it's his heat signature, but it worked for the film. I suppose there had to be some sort of evening up of the score, I suppose.
I guess so. I mean, if he's supposed to be the ultimate predator, but he can only see when people are giving off a heat signature, he's not a great predator because that's a very big weakness that he actually, in a sense, is blind.
Yeah, it's strange, but you do get this fear in Arnie, don't you?
That was cool to see. I doubt we've seen many films with Arnie visibly showing fear. It's not really his persona that he likes to portray on film, is it?
No, and then the Predator goes away, and then we get a bit of an A-Team scene now where we get a bit of a Hannibal Smith and B.A. Baraka scene from Dutch now where he's crafting all these weapons, isn't he? And he realises that the mud saves him.
Very Home Alone at this point, isn't it?
Yeah. Straight for the wet bandits to appear. But very much. And the thing is, I don't understand with the Predator because he can hear people talking and that, but for some reason he can't hear his movement or anything. Because obviously Arnie must be pretty close to him to be doing all this. He's not just like he's a few miles away, is he? He's within the vicinity of him. And Arnie then becomes the actual hunter, doesn't he? And he does get the better of him because he bow and arrows it, doesn't he, with fire, and you visibly see like the Predator, winces over, and then he does it a few more times, so he's completely lost this cloaking device. But then eventually he gets the better of Arnie, doesn't he? And Arnie ends up back in the water and loses all his mud off him completely. It's a hell of a bath he has, I must admit.
Yeah. I mean, I should go in those Mexican waters. They get you that clean. It was pretty good for him. It was kind of cool. seeing it, but him make that bow and arrow, I was like, bloody hell, this is cheesy. How has he managed this? How has he got the material to make this? Oh, something I noticed, trailing back a bit. I was watching it, and as the film goes on, all the very muscular ones in this lose more and more clothing as the film goes on. You know, they're all, first of all, in their army gear, and I noticed halfway through, Carl Weathers pretty much just has a vest jacket on to show off his huge guns, and then Arnie pretty much just has a tank top on, and I'm thinking, how are they losing all their clothing? What the hell is happening? How have they managed this?
I noticed that because Arnie went from a full-on uniform to just like his bulletproof vest with his arms, like, you know, his muscles hanging out and that. Yeah, I must admit, very homoerotic, I think, as they call it. Very 80s. But yeah, so we get this little battle then where what I'd find a bit bizarre, I must admit, the only thing I found a bit strange about this fight was the Predator's punches weren't very hard. And he's giving Arnie a few cracks in it. And Arnie's, you know, a couple of them, the first few, he throws him and Arnie ends up on the floor, face planted and everything. But then up close, where you think one punch is just like, you know, cave his skull in, he like gives him little jabs, doesn't he? A few little digs, and then he ends up with, he realizes that Arnie, this is how I saw it, his equal sort of thing, and he takes his mask off.
Showing some respect, isn't he? And he's acknowledging he's put up the good fight and doesn't deserve to just be killed by his better technology, and is deserving of hand to hand. But I then saw that in the sense, I was like, well, what about Billy? You didn't do that with Billy, did you? If he's willing to take you on. But it's all just for the show, isn't it? It's for the entertainment purposes. It'd be very boring if you just plasma blast him in the face. But then again, Arnie's completely immune to that plasma blast, so maybe he realised it's time for hand to hand.
Yeah, let's just have a good old-fashioned brawl. But then, as well, what's quite interesting is the Predator also knows, which he doesn't speak or anything really, is him taking that mask off puts him at a slight disadvantage. So it's like evening up the score because he can't see like he did before. He's got like a red sort of effect going on now, and you can still see him, but not as clear as he had before. And you see his face, and obviously we get the famous line from Arnie, "What the hell are you?" You know, like because he's really ugly.
Yeah,
thing, isn't he?
I mean it's such a iconic scene. Obviously now I think by now this is now our first real full look of him standing there for more than 3 seconds, and this is pretty much what, an hour 40 into the film, hour 35. So it's pretty impressive. They've managed to keep me invested in this film the whole time without actually showing the antagonist.
I must admit, now the next scene, it's a very good point, that, Matt, as well. And I must admit, I found this a bit bizarre how we get to the point where Dutch sort of kills, or, you know, basically maims the Predator. Where he kills him with like a counterweight, doesn't he? There's like a twig literally in front of him holding this massive log from a tree above. Where did that come from? Is there any explanation? Or is that just something the Predator's supposed to have built in his lair?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand. I was a bit at loss with it all. And I was kind of like, oh, so he just got killed by a log. That pretty much just gets him, does it? It was, it was odd. But, it's all for entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And obviously it crushes him. And we get the point where Arnie's got a brick or this big boulder and he's ready to cave his head in because the Predator's obviously looks like he's dying and he's oozing out this green blood, or his version of blood. And Arnie's about to do it and then gets a bit of compassion, doesn't he, and sort of looks at him. But then we get this thing which is pretty creepy, really. The Predator presses a self-destruct button to kill himself, doesn't he? But he starts laughing maniacally, which is Billy's laugh from earlier on when he laughed at that really cheesy joke at the start.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I had no idea. I thought that when I first watched it, I went, that is so weird. What a weird creative choice to make, that he laughs like a human. But if that's Billy's laugh, then that makes complete sense.
You know when he tells that stupid joke about his missus, that guy, that Shane Black, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he doesn't laugh, does he? And then within the jungle, he says it later on. And
No, I'm piecing it together now. It's blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind.
Yeah. So sorry, Matt, but yeah, that's where that comes from. And obviously, they're playing it on the loop because it's a bit more maniacal than what Billy actually did when he laughs, because he's proper like a, I'm going to die laugh sort of thing. But then then Dutch runs off with the old 80s scene, does he top off and makes a dive for it as the Predator goes up in his puff of smoke.
He did well to start running after he'd been crawling for the last 2 minutes due to injuries.
Done
very well there.
The inner T800 was in him there.
Maybe it was the T800. Maybe that's what we're missing here. Maybe it literally was the T800.
Very clever, very good. And then obviously we get, they rescue him then, don't they? And we're at the end of the film. Now, one thing I would say, Matt, though, about the end credits, which I found really... Do you ever watch the TV show? I mean, you might not because you're a lot younger than me. Have you ever heard of a TV show called Heidi High?
No.
Okay, well, when we've finished this, I'm going to send you Heidi High. Now, anyone out there, obviously, is not in the UK, is not going to understand what this is, but there's a programme from the 80s called Heidi High, which was set on a 1950s, I think, or early 90s, I think it's late 50s, early 60s campsite in England. And it's all about whatever, like a Butlins type site where everyone went, and it's called Heidi High. And that was the thing, you called them, I go Heidi High and all this. And there's a load of characters born out of it. So when I was a kid, like I'm 39, my nan and granddad, my mum and dad used to watch it. Nan. It's always synonymous with my nan and granddad. Mine was on a Saturday night. It was on constantly as a kid. And it's proper terrible canned comedy from the BBC. But what they did at the end, and I've gone off on one, they did this thing where every single person that was in the show, the song comes on, it introduced all the characters. And I found this the most bizarre, and it was exactly like this in The Predator. What they did was, the film's going off, Arnie's gone off into the sunset, Dutch has gone off. Then it come on and went starring, and every one of them was like, at the backs of the camera and turned around and smiled, whether they had a cigar, a gun, whoever it was. Did you not see the end credits?
Yeah, I thought I was suddenly in a sitcom now.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I missed it.
Yeah.
Was this film start out as something different, and then it became just a horrible action, a bloody action film?
I've never, ever seen that in any sort of realistic, action film, anything. It was so out of place. Like you said, it was like an episode of Friends or something like that at the end, because it was just to say, but we're not really dead, and this is starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as Dutch. He was the last character to come on the screen. And to be fair, Arnie was the only one I don't think who smiled. All the others smiled.
Yeah, when I was like, Arnie's not going to turn and smile, was he? And no, did not. He's not dealing with that. He must have said when they said, well, we're going to do this, turn and smile, he must have said no. This is ridiculous.
It was.
Get it over with.
I just, if anyone, I mean, obviously, it's something entirely up to yourselves listening. If you want to actually watch the film again, I know a lot of the people who listen love to sort of watch it and listen to the podcast, or listen to the podcast and watch it at the same time. Even if you don't, just watch the end credits, because I think it's the most out of place thing I've seen in any film,
especially for a film of this nature.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I mean, it was really bizarre. It was like almost, it was either a TV show type situation or a really bad sitcom. I was really thought, this is just weird completely. Bizarre. But anyway, very strange. So before we get into the review scores, Matt, I'm just going to mention again our sponsor, Studio. So that's www.studio.com. If you want to get wireless headphones or wired headphones, anything, obviously it's a great line. We and myself, Dave, are rocking them at the moment. I have to use them on the podcast as well. Get on there. It's Comics Emotion Podcast 15, which gives you 15% off. Or if you're lucky enough to have given us a review before the 27th of August, I will be announcing who the winner is this week of a free headset for yourselves. So again, that's studio.com. Right, Matt, let's go for it.
Okay. Right. So, are we doing our ranking of the film now? Our score? Okay. What are my options? I always forget.
No. As the guest, I'd like you to go first as well, my good friend. So we've got top of the line is Asgard.
Yeah.
Second, so really it's a 5-point scale, but ours is Asgard. top, Atlantis second, Halls of Justice third, Hell's Kitchen is fourth, and the worst is the Phantom Zone.
God, this is hard. I would have to say Halls of Justice for me. It is a good film, and it's so of its time. It is incredibly of its time, and I really enjoyed it. And when I finished it, I kind of thought, I don't think I'll watch that again. But you know, another day's gone by, and I've kind of thought about it and went, no, I had a lot of fun with this film. It's a slow burner. It's surprisingly a slow burner, and I think they were going, as I said before, a kind of Jaws aspect of not showing the antagonist and really letting the audience build it up in its mind. And I think the film did so well in just being a standalone film. Obviously now we're getting all this trying to make it a franchise because of the legacy it's left behind, but I think a lot of studios can take notes from this film that if they want to build a franchise, the best way to do it is to just make a film, make a good one. Don't, you know, they never delve into the fact, where's the Predator from? Where did it come from? It's just there. And that's nice to see. I don't like all this stopping and going, all that dialogue to exposition going, oh, this is where he come from. This is what he's all about. It's just Predator's there. This is what they have to do. This is what normal people have to do. And then you can explore that. So it's a good film. It's 100% of its time. It's very cheesy. I don't think it's aged amazingly well, but it's still a good time. It's a good action film.
Good stuff, Matt. Very good, very good. Now, myself, if I was just reviewing it on Arnie, it would be an Asgard all day long because Arnie's films, it don't matter what it is, whether it's Twins, The Running Man, Kindergarten Cop, I don't care. I'm a massive Arnie fan. Arnie was one of the reasons I got into going to the gym as a kid. My cousin was into the gym, massive Arnie fan, to bodybuilding, everything. Pumping Iron, even though it's a documentary. One of my favourite, Matt. I can put it on. It's on Netflix all the time, and I've got the collector's edition here. I'm a personal trainer, but I've never took gear or anything. No, Arnie took gear in that, but as a man and his ethic of work and stuff like that, and just his whole story of who he is,
really inspiring man. I'd actually say his autobiography is a fantastic read to learn about his life. Oh yeah, it's an amazing book. Great book.
To read it. I've never read it. I've read loads about him and studied him, but I've never.
Oh, you truly understand sort of where he come from, what his aims and aspirations were, and just his work ethic. And you really kind of realize what he achieved in the film industry alone. To do what he did from his background, and no one gave him a chance, is pretty incredible.
It is, and there's that speech that you listen to. I don't know what you listen to. I listen to it all the time, but it's a great line. He did it at like one of these sort of Harvard things, someone had part written it with him, but he says a line which I absolutely love, and he says, "You'll never climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pockets." And I just love that line, but you've got to deliver it in Arnie's voice.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's so real, and he's like, everyone said it was fail. I had this huge, monstrous body. Everyone, said this accent, and you're not going to be I'm not going to be anything in films. Now everybody wanted to be Arnie. If you can't have Schwarzenegger, we must build a Schwarzenegger, and all this. So it's like, it's just as a person, I absolutely love Arnie. I love him so much in what he did and stuff, and what he still does. But yeah, if it was Arnie, it was an Asgard. But I'm pretty much on the money with you. I think, even though I love Arnie, and like I say, I love everything about him, there's still a few things in this way. Like you said, it's aged pretty badly in places. The CGI with the actual CGI, it's special effects, and the tricks they do to create that sort of chameleon-like look of the Predator is fantastic. And it still ends up now. But the problem, I think, loses it a bit when the Predator reveals himself at the chameleon suit. It looks just like proper 80s rubber suit job. I was almost expecting.
Oh, I didn't like it. I really liked it.
Not big. Oh, not when he stood there. I think it looks great when he stood there. I mean, I was saying about when he was like attending to his bandages and his hand. It was his.
Oh, right, yeah.
He had problems with his hands and claws because you could clearly see that there was a bit giving the fingers where it was obviously not full fingers, and it was like just like a plastic thing. It was a bit like the A-Team when Hannibal Smith used to get dressed up at the start in the old day. I don't know if you watched the 80s TV show, and he'd have like a lizard suit on a film set as a stuntman, and it'd be just awful. And it was pretty much like, but he'd be smoking a cigar at the same time. So
Yeah.
it was just like that. It just kept taking me away from it. And I must admit, the Back to the Future music score, you know, Alan Silvestri's score is just basically Back to the Future pretty much. So that did take it away at times. But when I was watching some of the bits, like a mental note, not too much, but just enough for me to go, oh yeah, he's just basically nicked the music and brought it over. He's just dialing this one in with the score.
To listen, I didn't notice.
Yeah, there's a few things. I think it's on because Lethal Weapon is one of my favourite films. It's Lethal Weapon and Die Hard. I think they're done by the same person, and you can tell the first Die Hard and Lethal Weapon. They're all. I think Lethal Weapon was first, but there's some. The trumpet stuff's exactly the same, both films. But I love them films, both of them. But yeah, so nothing major. But Arnie's great. I think Carl Weathers is good. Great actor. He portrays that sort of bad guy on the line thing all the way through the film pretty well. Some of the supporting guys are a bit poor. They've got some. I mean, that Mac, we had some real terrible lines. I'm glad we didn't really mention a lot of him. He was absolutely awful lines.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff he was saying.
He was poor.
Yeah, trying to be like the philosopher. And I think there's a reason that in all the other films he's done, when he plays a thug, he only has one or two lines like, "Where is he? We're going to kill him," because some of the stuff he was doing was just awful. But again, great film. It was one of Arnie's sort of signature films after Predator and Commando of the 80s. And I think after this, he did Raw Deal, which I actually like Raw Deal. And then you've got stuff like Red Heat, but this was just Arnie. And that picture of Arnie at the start with the Predator in the background, which is on all the video cases from the 80s, because I had it, and all the posters, is probably more iconic than the film. That picture is actually more as iconic as, say, Charlie Sheen in Platoon or whatever. That's how iconic it is, because it's just absolutely epitomizes everything about Arnie, just like the Terminator does in Terminator 1, the posters and that is it's a great thing that you'd always take with you. So I think for that, creating like they created a franchise from this, what you said, Matt. I'm the same as you. I'm going with Halls of Justice. It's not a bad film. I think if it had been in the 80s or early 90s, I'd be giving it a lot higher score. But as watching it subjective from now, 30 years later, there's just a few dodgy lines in there that just bugbear with me, I think. And a bit of the acting's a bit wooden on some of the supporting cast. But good film. Don't not watch it. I'm with you on that. So, Matt, thank you so much for coming on today. You're a star man again.
No problem. Happy
Dave,
to.
Yeah, don't worry. And hopefully we'll get Dave on and we'll do a bit of a round table, talk about some of the comic books, especially with the Avengers 4 coming up next year.
Definitely.
We'll have something on there next few weeks. So, Matt, give us some plugs, mate, before you go.
Yeah, sure. So I have a YouTube channel called Jasper Reviews. I just I review films that are out at the moment, any films I kind of want to see. And I talk about what's kind of happening in the pop culture world. So currently I have a video on the Predator coming out. It's called The Predator, Is It Destined to Fail? So I just kind of talk about why I think this new Predator film might fail due to the marketing that's come out and other aspects surrounding Predator. I do do videos on all sorts. So I've been talking about people who could be Green Lantern, actors who could be James Bond, and just all that kind of stuff. I'm currently doing a video on the Spider-Man films, just ranking them. And hopefully I'm going to talk a little bit more about comics as well. And I'm going to try get some video essays, something a bit more meatier on the channel. But yeah, that's my channel, it's Jasper Reviews.
Good man. And get on there, guys. I'm not just saying it because Matt's on. Matt does some cracking stuff as well. So please give him a follow and subscribe to all his stuff as well, because it's well worth it. It's a good compliment, I think, to some of the podcasts that we've done, Matt, as well, because your stuff's a lot more the visual stuff. I love, absolutely love it. So
I think about that. I did a video on one of the podcasts we did recently, which people responded quite well to. So that's definitely something to look out for, our Hulk versus 4.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, that was the one, wasn't it? Hulk versus 4.
Yeah.
And then we did Hulk v Wolverine as well, didn't we? But Hulk v4 was the one which was a bit iffy, wasn't it? Yeah. But no, thank you, mate. Top man. I'll get some plugs in myself before I go. So we've
go for it.
Give us a follow. Obviously, you're listening to the podcast. You know, it's Comics Emotion P on Twitter or Comics Emotion Podcast on YouTube and Facebook. Dave's other podcast, which is a footy coaching one, is the Grassroots Coach Cast. So give them a follow on Twitter and on iTunes. And my vlogging site on YouTube channel, CPod78 Vlogs, has got my New York vlog on them, my travels around the world, whatever. I've got the Vegas one coming up in November, which I'm gearing up for immensely. It's only 79 days tomorrow, Matt, so I'm not counting. And I haven't got an app on my phone which tells me every day how many I've got.
No, of course not.
Of course not. It's been 5 long years since I've been to Vegas. So, yeah, please give me a follow. It's my best place in the world for me. But no, thank you so much, Matt. And thanks, everyone, again for listening. The competition winner will be announced in the next few days. And I'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Let's go kill this spook that they're waiting for us. Oh, mother God.
Whatever it is out there, it killed Hopper. Now it wants us.
He wants to kill the lion!
Killing us one at a time.
We're all gonna die.
But this time, it's picked the wrong man to hunt.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Predator.
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!